Okay, so this is a sped up version of this drawing, but this is the 30% gray, just laying out some basic composition frames, and using the gray marker just to thumbnail out the composition quickly using the kettlebell and the box, and then doing another version where it's a little bit bigger, faces a different direction. This is still with the 30% gray. Um, Drawing outside of the composition frame too, just to make sure that uh, like construction wise, that uh, it remains consistent. Sometimes if you try to crop it off arbitrarily, like your drawing sometimes loses proportion. So we can draw through the top of the frame to make sure that we get the proportion really solid. So the idea behind this is to take the practical skill of having drawn it multiple angles, broken it down in a number of different ways, and then going about using concepts of composition, like thinking about where you want the eye to go, how you want to travel around the image. In addition, starting to think about how you can place things in perspective and relationship to each other, and to be able to create those overlaps, that depth and dimension, but also thinking about the quality of the design. So I went back in and I gave a little bit of contrast to the back of the value on this one, because I like the composition as a whole, and I thought to myself that would be the ideal one to use. Um, you're free to switch to Prismacolor in order to do this if you feel more comfortable with the Prismacolor. The important thing is you want to always draw through things as much as you can, and you're constantly trying to make sure you're constructing as many things as you possibly can, and that you're, even though you're guessing things, that you're using the same skills all the time, but that you're making calculated, reasonable guesses. So again, I used a simple little art to try to figure out where to plot the angle for the tilt of the lid on the box, mostly so that I wouldn't have to create like a special vanishing point to make the conversions. And then again, it's just taking the ideas from having done the smaller drawing, and then now I just want to project back the ground plane on where I want to put the kettlebell, and then because it's spherical, it's somewhat easy to give it the just a really quick spherical volume pretty fast. Going back in and just putting a little bit more emphasis to um, the frame for the composition, and then at this point it's going back and just adjusting the line weights, like giving things line weight where it needs it. And it's an important skill to be able to take your thumbnails and then relatively accurately reproduce them fairly large. So this still involves thinking about negative and positive space too. So when you're starting to translate small thumbnails up to larger drawings, mostly what you're doing is you're trying to, while you're trying to get the perspective and the convergence right, you're also trying to do a comparison of negative positive space of what was done in your thumbnail, so you can translate as much of the good parts of that up to the bigger drawing and minimize the parts that you don't care for like that much. So I added a little bit of gray in the background and went back in and started just giving emphasis to the line weight to get that extra bit of separation for that added depth. So putting a little bit more heavier value on the lines coming towards us and let them diminish a little bit, and then going back and just shoring up the line weight for the kettlebell as well. So um, the process is, again, it's fairly simple, especially once you've drawn these objects enough, they should start to become fairly easy to draw. And after they become easy to draw, then it's time to start thinking about exploring how can I draw these in a relatively unique and interesting way. And that's pretty much what this is. It's just figuring out now how to compose these together and we're thinking, not, again, we don't care about in this case where the light source is and accuracy of those things. Most of the value that's being applied here is more of a stylistic choice. It's not truly an indication of clearly where the light source is. It's just to make these things have a little bit more dimension and a little bit more style and pizzazz too.